Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome. For those of you who don't know, this is a series that I made to dig into key games that either expanded or popularized different genres in gaming. The idea is to dig into and document those moments of ones that changed or evolved these genres in one way or another, and today is no exception, as we briefly talk about MMOs. I know, it's a bit of a niche thing for most people and you're either really into them or you're not into them at all, but the genre has been around for a very long time. So if you're curious, sit back and hang out a while as we'll go into a bit of history of MMOs as a genre and why this one in particular today is such a big deal. Now, the idea of an MMO has been around for a while, even preceding graphical interfaces with things like mods, which were multi-user dungeons that could have multiple users log into them, with the room and enemy structure basically being described to the player. These date all the way back to nearly 1978 and wouldn't be the only games that people would use to try to play online with each other. Other games would come along like the early Neverwinter Nights. This was a joint venture between AOL, Beyond Software, and TSR, to name a few names. They all worked together to develop a fully graphical D&D interface where multiple users could log in and play turn-based games together. This was the very first graphical online RPG, and for many an eye-opener. Basically, a gamer who wanted more of this and other online experiences didn't really have too many options, but it wouldn't take too long for more of these to come out. But big jumps in the online RPG wouldn't really happen until a bit later. Around 1999, in fact, when a game known as EverQuest would drop to the general public. Now, EverQuest was a big opener to many people's minds at the time it released. This was a fully 3D graphical world that was heavily influenced by early mods and Dungeons & Dragons style games. They used all this to create a massive online fantasy world. Players could grind out levels, join guilds, and it even had a crafting system that allowed players to make their own gear, with much of the best gear being made from those same skills. Now, crafting features in and of itself wasn't entirely new. This was also an Ultima Online that had come out nearly 2 years before EverQuest released. EverQuest, though, brought all these features together in a total package, quickly overpassing Ultima Online's subscriber count by the end of the first year it actually came out. Essentially, in around 6 months, it had blown past Ultima Online. The game continued to perform well in the future, having expansions like Shadows of Lucin and Planes of Power before eventually launching a sequel in 2004 with EverQuest 2. However, by this time, the game wasn't alone on the market. During its expansion releases, Final Fantasy XI would come out, giving players a new world focused around Square's popular series for players to dive into. Both of these games were fairly steep with a learning curve, often with heavy punishments for failure. Both games, for example, the player could actually lose levels from losing experience by dying. In-game players would also keep multiple sets of gears on hand, one for the level that they were actually on and one for the level just below that, in case they were in a dungeon or raid and had too many deaths. This was something that Blizzard saw and sought to fix, and fix it they did. In 2004, World of Warcraft would release and introduce their own world to players, using much of the world, lore, and races from their popular Warcraft series in order to make a more approachable RPG. This opened many new players' eyes to the genre as a whole. Its lighter approach, updated graphics, and easier experience grind, and the IP's overall popularity with the public made it a huge hit with players. These newer games would use a lot of what made EverQuest popular, just putting their own spin on it and in some ways making it more approachable to pull in a wider audience, in large part due to the path blazed by earlier games and popularized by EverQuest itself. However, what do you guys think of this one? Did any of you play these MMOs? Have any of you played any of them in the past? Do you think EverQuest was a big catalyst for MMOs like this, or did you lean more towards WoW or another MMO for their rise in popularity? Let me know in the comments. While you're there, if you see other videos you like, possibly one of the ones on the screen, consider following the channel. It would mean a lot to me. Till we meet again though, have a great rest of your day, and happy gaming!